The spaceport medical hub was noisy and full of tension, but nothing prepared anyone for what stormed through the doors that day. A massive dragon, larger than any transport vessel, crashed onto the metal floor with a thunderous roar. Its scales were blackened and cracked, smoke curling from its nostrils, and its wings were torn in jagged rips. The creature shook violently, sending sparks from the floor beneath it, and every alien medic froze, eyes wide with fear. Whispers rippled through the room. "Too dangerous. We can't touch it. It will burn anyone who tries. Run before it notices you." Panic was thick in the air, making the bright lights of the hub feel dim and cold. Traders and guards scrambled, trying to hold the dragon still, but it thrashed with strength that shook the walls. Among the terrified crowd, a young human medic named Kieran stepped forward. His uniform was plain, his hands steady, and his heart raced in a mix of fear and resolve. He had never treated a dragon before, but he saw something no one else dared to notice: pain. Beneath the smoke, fire, and terror, the dragon's eyes glimmered with suffering. They were golden, wide, and desperate, and in that moment, Kieran understood that this creature was not evil, it was trapped in agony. He took a deep breath and ignored the gasps and warnings of alien medics behind him. "I have to help it," he whispered to himself. Kieran approached carefully, keeping his voice low and calm. The dragon hissed and snapped its jaws, sending a heat wave that scorched the floor. Kieran flinched but did not retreat. He crouched behind a shattered console and studied the dragon's injuries. Its wing membranes were torn, leaving raw, pulsing skin exposed. One leg was bent at an unnatural angle, and the scales along its spine were scorched black. Smoke rose from its mouth and nostrils, a dangerous mix of fear and pain. The aliens around him were frozen, unable to move, unable to act. Kieran's mind raced for solutions. He grabbed a portable containment net, carefully rolling it like a soft blanket. "I need to calm it first," he said quietly, almost to himself. Slowly he moved closer, talking in gentle tones. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. I just want to help." The dragon's head tilted, eyeing him suspiciously. A plume of smoke hissed from its throat, but it didn't lunge. Kieran took another step, showing his hands open and empty. Every muscle in his body was tense, but he kept his movements slow and deliberate. "I see your pain. I can help. Just let me try." For the first time, a flicker of recognition passed through the dragon's eyes. It hissed softly, almost like a growl of confusion, but its thrashing slowed. The alien medics muttered among themselves, some stepping back in fear, some whispering warnings that fell on deaf ears. Kieran ignored them all. He had never been so scared, but he knew fear was different from courage. Fear made people run, courage made them stay. And he would stay. Kieran moved even closer, noticing the dragon's breathing. Each inhalation was ragged, a fiery cough that burned its own throat. "You're hurting badly," he said. "I will make it better." Carefully he touched the edge of a torn wing membrane. The dragon flinched violently, smoke shooting from its nostrils, but Kieran's hand stayed firm. He whispered more words, soft and steady. "I'm not leaving. I'm here with you. You're not alone." His voice was calm, confident, filled with an empathy no alien medic had managed to summon. A small group of aliens tried to intervene, moving forward with restraining rods and energy cuffs, but the dragon's golden eyes fixed on Kieran. With a flick of its tail, it knocked their tools aside. Kieran took a small step back, giving it space, and raised his hands in a gesture of peace. The dragon hesitated, its body quivering with rage and pain, but it did not attack him. Slowly, Kieran rolled the net toward the dragon again, speaking soothingly. "This is just to help you heal. Nothing more. I promise." The dragon's nostrils flared, but it lowered its head slightly, smoke curling in gentle spirals instead of bursts. The other humans in the hub began to notice Kieran's progress. Some held their breath, others whispered prayers under their breath, and a few even offered small nods of encouragement. The dragon's movements became less frantic. Kieran worked quickly but carefully, touching burned scales, checking the broken wing, and observing its reactions. Every step required careful attention. One wrong move could trigger fire or flight. But Kieran remained calm, reading the dragon's signals and adjusting his actions. Minutes stretched into an hour. Sweat ran down Kieran's forehead, his hands were scorched in tiny bursts of heat, and every nerve screamed danger. Yet the dragon's struggles slowed. Its body still shivered, but the violent thrashing ceased. Its golden eyes followed Kieran with a wary trust, a fragile bond forming in silence. The alien medics watched, mouths open, unable to comprehend how one human had achieved what dozens of trained professionals had feared to touch. Finally, Kieran spoke in a low, confident voice. "You are not alone anymore. I am here. You will live." The dragon let out a soft, rumbling sound, almost a purr, and lowered its massive head to the floor. Smoke curled lazily from its nostrils, no longer a raging blaze. Kieran exhaled, tension leaving his body in a long, shaky breath. The room was silent, save for the dragon's slow, uneven breathing and the quiet hum of the spaceport systems. In that moment, Kieran understood something powerful. Courage alone could not save lives. Empathy, patience, and a willingness to face fear were just as important. He had stepped forward when everyone else stepped back, and the dragon had recognized it. Others had refused to act, trapped by fear and prejudice. He had succeeded because he dared to see the being behind the terror, the pain behind the fire. Kieran stayed beside the dragon, checking its breathing and injuries, while the alien medics kept their distance, whispering in disbelief. Word spread quickly. A human had touched the untouchable, faced the feared, and calmed the raging. The dragon, terrifying to all, had found hope in a small human medic. And in that moment something changed in the hub. Fear still lingered, but respect, curiosity, and awe began to bloom. The galaxy might never forget the day a human faced a dragon when everyone else refused. And as Kieran whispered once more, gently touching the edge of the dragon's wing, he knew this was only the beginning. Kieran stayed by the dragon, listening to its slow, labored breaths. Its eyes were half closed now, wary but calmer, as if it could sense that he meant no harm. Around them, the alien medics whispered nervously, shaking their heads. They had never seen a human approach a creature like this and survive. Some even muttered that humans were reckless, foolish, or simply lucky. But Kieran did not think about luck. He thought about pain, trust, and what it meant to help when no one else would. He crouched beside the dragon, inspecting its wounds. The torn wing had deep cuts, the skin red and raw. Some of the scales along its spine were broken, and small patches of fire-scorched flesh smoldered faintly. Kieran carefully touched one of the scales with gloved fingers, noting how it reacted. The dragon flinched but did not strike. He realized that fear more than pain made the creature dangerous. The previous alien medics had tried to act fast, using tools and energy beams, and it had only made the dragon more violent. Kieran knew he needed a different approach, slow, gentle, and intelligent. He took a small medical scanner from his belt, pointing it at the dragon's chest. The readings blinked rapidly, showing irregular heartbeat and burned lung tissue. Kieran frowned. This dragon was not just strong, it was fragile in ways no one expected. He murmured, "You are not just a weapon, you are alive. And I will help you." His words were calm, soft, and patient. The dragon's ears twitched, and it lowered its head slightly as if listening. Kieran smiled faintly, understanding that trust was being built, piece by piece. He decided to treat the wing first. Using soft bandages from his kit, he carefully wrapped the torn membrane, speaking gently the whole time. "This will hurt a little, but it will make you stronger," he said. The dragon hissed softly but did not lash out. Kieran adjusted his technique, feeling how the dragon responded to touch. Small movements, slow pressure, and constant reassurance worked better than any mechanical tool. Other humans watched from a safe distance, amazed at the human ability to connect, to read emotions that no scanner or machine could detect. As he worked, Kieran noticed the dragon's breathing pattern. Each inhale was sharp, almost like a shiver of fire inside its chest. He used a cooling spray to ease the burning and gently pressed on tender areas to help it relax. "It's okay," he whispered. "I am here. You will not be hurt again." Slowly, the dragon's massive body stopped trembling as violently, its tail curling around itself. Kieran realized something important. Humans could succeed where others failed because they could feel, not just calculate. Empathy mattered as much as knowledge. Hours passed, but Kieran did not rest. He cleaned burns and soot from the dragon's scales, noticing patterns of pain that others ignored. Small movements, careful adjustments, and repeated reassurances helped the dragon understand he was a friend, not a threat. It even allowed Kieran to touch its snout, a sign that trust was forming. Alien medics watched in silence, some in awe, others in disbelief. They had relied on fear, machines, and rules. Kieran relied on courage and understanding. By late afternoon, Kieran began feeding the dragon small energy capsules, modified from alien medical supplies. The dragon sniffed them suspiciously but ate when Kieran encouraged it with soft words. Every small action, the touch, the food, the gentle speech, built a connection that the aliens could not comprehend. Kieran realized that being human meant more than strength or technology. Humans could see value where others only saw danger. The dragon, terrifying as it was, responded to patience and care. A sudden alarm sounded in the hub and Kieran's attention snapped to it. An injured alien trader had collapsed nearby. Kieran's mind raced, knowing he could not leave the dragon alone. He quickly adjusted the bandages and ensured the dragon was comfortable, then glanced around for a solution. The dragon watched him, its golden eyes narrowing slightly, as if recognizing that this human acted differently. It did not move aggressively, only watched with cautious curiosity. Kieran smiled, understanding that the bond was mutual. He trusted it and it began to trust him. Over the next few hours, small victories appeared. The dragon let Kieran examine its legs, even shifting slightly to allow him access. He found bruised muscles and minor fractures and used simple splints to stabilize them. Every step required careful observation. One wrong move could trigger fire or flight. But Kieran remained calm, focusing on the dragon's reactions, adjusting techniques based on subtle cues. He discovered that fire blasts were more fear than anger. By moving slowly, speaking gently and showing no threat, he could prevent dangerous outbursts. By nightfall, the dragon lay still, eyes half closed, body relaxed in a way no one had thought possible. Kieran sat beside it, exhausted but triumphant. Alien medics whispered among themselves, amazed and confused. They could not deny what they had seen. A human had done what no alien could. And the dragon, terrifying to all, had begun to see this human not as a threat, but as a healer, a protector. Kieran took a moment to rest his hand on the dragon's wing. "You are strong," he said softly. "But even the strong need help sometimes." The dragon shifted slightly, nuzzling his hand with a gentle hiss. A small spark of connection formed, fragile but undeniable. Kieran realized that this was not just a medical victory, it was something greater. He had bridged a gap between species, faced fear when others fled, and proved that empathy, courage and patience were as powerful as technology or strength. Outside, the hub's lights flickered as the night began. Word spread quickly among the staff. A human had healed the impossible. Some whispered that Kieran was reckless, others that he was brave, but all recognized one truth: humans acted differently and that difference could change everything. The dragon, still wary but calmer, rested its head near Kieran's knee, a silent acknowledgement of trust. Kieran looked down at the creature, smiling faintly despite exhaustion. He knew the road ahead would be dangerous. The dragon was far from fully healed and many in the galaxy would still fear it. But he also knew something stronger: humans could face what others could not. They could see value, show courage and act where others froze in fear. For the first time, the dragon exhaled smoke in a gentle, steady stream, no longer wild, no longer violent. It was an unspoken promise. Trust could be earned. Kieran stayed with it through the night, ready for whatever came next, knowing that the human difference, heart, courage and empathy, had already begun to rewrite the story of the terrifying dragon. And in the silent glow of the spaceport's lights, a legend quietly began. The night had passed slowly, but the dragon had not moved much. It rested on the cold metal floor of the spaceport hub, its breathing calmer though still heavy. Kieran sat beside it, checking the bandages and touching its scales gently. Every now and then, the dragon shifted slightly, flaring smoke from its nostrils, reminding him how dangerous it still could be. Yet, Kieran saw something new: curiosity. The golden eyes watched him carefully, no longer full of blind rage, but studying him as if trying to understand why a human would risk everything to help it. Outside the hub, news had spread like wildfire. Aliens from neighboring sectors whispered about the human who treated a terrifying dragon. Some were amazed, some fearful, and some angry. Rumors grew that the dragon could be a weapon, that Kieran had somehow tamed it, that humans could face danger where no other species dared. Soon, factions of alien authorities began to arrive, scanning the hub with suspicion. Kieran felt a ripple of tension. The dragon was injured, exhausted, and still unpredictable. Any sudden move could turn the situation deadly. A group of alien soldiers arrived first, their armor gleaming under the hub lights. They carried energy restraints, nets, and devices designed to sedate dangerous creatures. Kieran stood slowly, placing himself between the dragon and the approaching soldiers. "Stay back," he warned, voice firm but calm. The soldiers paused, unsure if a human could actually stop them. "It's injured," Kieran said. "It is not a weapon yet. Let me finish helping it first." The soldiers exchanged glances, their antennas twitching with confusion. "You cannot control it," one said sharply. "It will burn anyone who tries to approach." Kieran's eyes never left the dragon. "Then leave it to me," he replied simply. "I know what to do." 4 hours the soldiers argued with Kieran, trying to persuade him to let them take the dragon. They offered threats, commands, and even bribes. Kieran refused them all. The dragon watched quietly, muscles tensed, ready to defend itself if provoked. Kieran knew he had to stay calm, or the fragile trust he had built could vanish in an instant. He spoke to the dragon in soft tones, not loud enough for the soldiers to hear. "They are afraid," he whispered. "But I will protect you." The dragon's eyes flickered, almost like it understood. As the debate dragged on, Kieran continued his work. He cleaned small burns, adjusted bandages, and monitored its breathing. The soldiers grew impatient, some beginning to murmur among themselves. Kieran noticed a slight flare of heat from the dragon's throat, a warning that it was sensing danger. He crouched lower, hands open, and continued speaking softly. "You are safe with me. Do not fear them." The dragon slowly relaxed again, smoke curling in soft spirals instead of sudden bursts. But danger was not only from the soldiers. Word had reached alien gangs and mercenaries who saw the dragon as a prize. They wanted it for experiments, for money, or for power. Kieran knew that if they tried to enter the hub, chaos would erupt. He stayed alert, ready to act, while still tending to the dragon. Every sound, every shadow could mean trouble. Yet the dragon remained by his side, its massive head lowered, breathing controlled. Kieran realized it was beginning to trust him completely. He had become more than a medic. He was a guardian. A sudden alarm pierced the hub. Sensors detected an unauthorized entry. Kieran's heart raced. He looked at the dragon and whispered, "Stay calm. We will face this together." Outside the main doors, shadows shifted. Figures moved quickly, armed with strange weapons. Kieran knew the dragon could defend itself in fire and strength, but he also knew it was still healing. He could not risk it being harmed by panic or misunderstanding. He grabbed a nearby metal panel, placing it between the dragon and the doors. "I will not let them hurt you," he said, steadying his hands. The dragon shifted slightly as if acknowledging his words. The intruders entered cautiously, seeing the massive creature behind the human. Kieran stood tall, his chest forward, eyes unflinching. Humans could do things other species could not. They could face fear, think quickly, and act with courage even in impossible situations. The intruders hesitated. One raised a stun weapon, and the dragon's golden eyes glowed with warning. Kieran raised a hand, calm but commanding. "Do not make it fight. It is injured. You will leave now." The intruder laughed, thinking the human was weak. But the dragon moved with surprising speed, shifting its massive tail to knock a table toward the intruder, careful not to strike him directly. Sparks flew and the intruder stumbled back, shocked. Kieran's courage and the dragon's instincts combined perfectly. By the time the hub's security arrived, the intruders had retreated, muttering warnings about humans and dragons. Kieran exhaled slowly, hands shaking but steady. He checked the dragon once more. Its body was tense but calm, its trust in him clear. He understood that danger would come in many forms, from authorities, from mercenaries, even from fear itself. But he also understood that the dragon had chosen him, and that bond made them stronger together. The alien medics who had fled earlier began to return, curious and cautious. They watched silently as Kieran treated the dragon with patience and skill. Some muttered apologies, others shook their heads in disbelief. They could not explain how a human could do what they had feared, but they could see the results. The dragon's breathing was steadier, its body less tense, its eyes calmer. Kieran had not just treated its injuries, he had earned its trust. That night, Kieran stayed by the dragon, monitoring every breath, every flick of its tail. Outside, alien authorities debated whether to take action, worried about the human who had tamed the untamable. Kieran ignored the politics, focusing only on the dragon. He whispered, "You have survived so much, and now we face more, but together we can handle it." The dragon's eyes met his, golden and steady. For the first time, it seemed to understand that Kieran was not just a helper, he was a protector. By dawn the hub had quieted. The dragon rested, its massive body still but calm. Kieran cleaned the final bandages and allowed himself a moment to breathe. He knew shadows of danger would follow them, authorities, mercenaries, and those who feared what they did not understand. But he also knew something stronger. Humans could act when others froze. Humans could face fear with courage, and empathy could calm the wildest rage. The dragon stirred slightly, nudging Kieran's hand with its snout. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. Trust had been earned. Fear had been met with courage. Pain had been met with care. And Kieran realized as he looked around at the stunned alien medics and the still recovering dragon, that humanity had a quiet power that could change the galaxy itself. The shadows of danger still loomed, but for the first time Kieran felt ready. He had faced threats, fear and prejudice and survived. The dragon, once terrifying to all, now followed his guidance, not out of fear but out of choice. Together they would face the challenges ahead, proving that the human way, courage, patience and empathy, could overcome even the darkest shadows. And in that silent hub, as the sun's first rays touched the metal floor, a legend quietly grew. A human who faced danger when all others fled, and a dragon who learned to trust again. The hub was tense. Word had spread quickly about the human who had treated the terrifying dragon, and now alien authorities arrived in force. Their ships hovered outside, casting long shadows across the metal floor. Soldiers and officials poured into the spaceport, their eyes wary, hands ready to restrain the dragon. Kieran stood in front of it, unarmed but steady, his small figure seeming almost fragile against the massive creature behind him. Yet he felt no fear. The dragon was still injured, but it trusted him. That trust was stronger than any weapon. One of the alien commanders stepped forward, voice sharp and cold. "This creature is dangerous. You must release it to us. It is too powerful to remain here." Kieran shook his head, voice firm. "No. It is hurt, not a weapon. It will survive only if I help it." Whispers ran through the hub. Some medics shook their heads, some looked confused, but Kieran did not waver. He knew that the dragon's survival depended on courage, his courage, and that humans often succeeded where others failed because they would act, even when fear was stronger than logic. The soldiers moved forward, forming a semicircle around the dragon. Kieran glanced at the massive tail, the folded wings, the smoke curling from its nostrils. The dragon flared slightly, muscles tensing, warning Kieran that even minor provocation could trigger chaos. Kieran raised his hand slowly, keeping his voice calm and clear. "Do not force it," he said. "It will not fight if it feels safe." Some of the soldiers sneered, others doubted him, but Kieran did not retreat. The commander ordered the soldiers to restrain the dragon. Machines whirred, nets charged with energy and guards advanced. The dragon roared, shaking the floor with its massive body. Kieran stepped forward and raised his voice, calm and commanding. "Stop. I will not let you harm it. Stand down." The dragon hesitated, golden eyes fixed on him. Slowly, it lowered its head, smoke curling gently instead of bursting in flame. Kieran understood that the bond they had formed was working. He whispered softly to the dragon. "Trust me. You do not need to fight." The dragon's massive body relaxed slightly, ready to obey his guidance. The commander's patience wore thin. "You will be removed if you refuse to comply," he said. Kieran glanced at the approaching soldiers and then back at the dragon. "Then you will see that humans act differently. We face fear and we protect life even when it is dangerous." The soldiers advanced again, but Kieran was ready. He grabbed a heavy metal panel and slid it across the floor, placing it between the dragon and the intruders. Sparks flew as it hit the walls, creating a small barrier. The dragon shifted, tail lashing lightly, but it stayed behind him, waiting. Kieran's mind worked quickly. He needed to protect the dragon without hurting the soldiers. He picked up small devices from the medical bay, lights, sound modulators and cooling sprays. With careful timing, he created distractions, startling the soldiers just enough to make them pause. The dragon watched him, responding not with rage but with controlled power. It was learning from him as much as he was guiding it. The room became a dance of human ingenuity and dragon instinct. Hours passed and the tension did not ease. Alien authorities debated among themselves, unsure how to handle a human who could control a creature no one else dared approach. Some muttered about arresting Kieran, others about capturing the dragon. Kieran ignored the politics, focusing only on his companion. He adjusted bandages, applied cooling sprays and spoke in calm, patient tones. "You are safe. You are healing. Do not fear them." The dragon's eyes followed him, golden and steady, showing understanding and trust. At one point, a soldier moved too quickly, aiming a restraining rod. The dragon flared, nostrils glowing, wings tensing. Kieran stepped forward quickly, hands raised. "No. Back." The dragon froze, listening to his voice. Slowly, it relaxed again, tail curling back, wings folding gently. The soldiers froze, shocked that a human could command such a massive, dangerous being without force. Kieran realized that the key was not fear or strength, it was trust, built through courage and patience. Night fell over the hub and the alien authorities had not left. They were watching, waiting, unsure if the dragon could be trusted to remain calm. Kieran stayed close to it, checking its breathing and adjusting bandages. "You have survived this far," he whispered. "And you will survive more. We will face whatever comes together." The dragon nudged his hand gently, almost like a gesture of gratitude. Kieran felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for what humans could accomplish when they acted with courage, empathy, and patience. Outside, tension grew. Reports of the dragon's survival and Kieran's bravery spread across the sector. Some alien factions were impressed, some angry and others fearful. But none could deny the truth. They had seen a human act where others froze, and a dragon obey a human without chains or weapons. Kieran's courage had created a new balance. Fear had been met with calm, violence had been met with patience, and the impossible had been faced without surrender. By dawn, the hub was quiet. The dragon rested, breathing slow and steady, its massive body still tense but controlled. Kieran cleaned its wounds one last time for the night and allowed himself a small moment to sit and breathe. He knew the road ahead would be full of challenges. Authorities, mercenaries, and those who feared what they did not understand. Yet he also knew that the dragon trusted him completely, and that was a power stronger than any weapon or threat. Kieran looked at the golden eyes fixed on him and whispered, "We will survive what comes. You and I together." The dragon shifted slightly, nudging his hand once more. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke volumes. Trust, respect, and a bond that could face any danger. The alien soldiers and medics who watched silently could only marvel at what they had seen. Humans had acted where all others failed, proving that courage and empathy could turn fear into alliance. And in the quiet glow of the early morning, as shadows of the night lingered across the metal floor, a new story was forming. It was the story of a human who dared to stand where others would flee, a dragon who learned to trust again, and a bond that would face every challenge the galaxy could send. Kieran understood it clearly. The test of courage was not over, but for the first time he felt ready. The dragon, once terrifying to all, now followed him willingly. Fear had been met with bravery, danger with intelligence, and pain with care. And together they were stronger than anything the galaxy had expected. The dragon stretched its massive wings, testing the strength that Kieran had helped it regain. Its scales glimmered in the morning light, blackened scars still visible but fading. The spaceport hub, once full of chaos and fear, was now quiet. Aliens and humans alike watched from a distance, unsure how to react. The dragon was terrifying, yes, but no longer a threat. Kieran stood beside it, small and calm, his hand steady as he checked its breathing one last time. He had done what no alien medic had dared, and the dragon now trusted him completely. Outside the hub, news of the human and the dragon had spread across the galaxy. Aliens whispered of the courage it took to face a creature no one else would touch. Some were skeptical, others amazed. A few came to see for themselves, curious and cautious. They had expected disaster, fire, and destruction. Instead, they saw a human standing calmly beside a dragon that could have destroyed everyone in the room, yet chose not to. Kieran realized that this quiet bravery was rare, even in a galaxy filled with weapons and power. Kieran spoke softly to the dragon, "It's time to go. You are ready." The dragon turned its golden eyes toward him, tilting its head. Kieran could feel the creature's trust, fragile yet strong, and he knew the moment was delicate. One wrong move, one sudden sound, could undo everything. Slowly he reached out, brushing the dragon's massive snout with his hand. The dragon leaned into the touch, and for a moment the world outside the hub faded away. The alien medics who had once refused to approach now watched in silence. They had seen humans act in ways they could not understand, facing fear, showing patience, and building trust. Kieran realized that humans were different not because of strength or technology, but because they saw value where others saw danger, and they acted when others hesitated. The dragon, once terrifying, had become a living testament to that difference. Kieran led the dragon to a large hangar bay. The massive doors opened, revealing the vast expanse of the sky above the spaceport. Light from distant stars and nearby planets reflected off the dragon's scales. It flexed its wings carefully, testing their strength again. Kieran stood close, guiding it, his hand on a patch of strong scales near its shoulder. "You have come far," he said. "You can fly now. You can choose your path." The dragon's golden eyes met his, and slowly, with careful flaps, it rose from the ground, wings spreading wide. The crowd gasped. Even seasoned alien officers and medics could not hide their astonishment. The dragon lifted higher, circling the spaceport slowly. Its wings created gusts of wind that rattled metal panels, yet it moved with control and grace. Kieran stepped back, letting it take the lead. He had not only healed its body but had earned its trust. That trust was more powerful than any weapon or authority. As the dragon soared above, Kieran knew the moment had changed more than just one life. The galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary. Humans, often underestimated, had proven that courage, empathy, and patience could triumph over fear, power, and prejudice. The dragon was a symbol, a reminder that even the most terrifying beings could be reached with understanding and care. Kieran felt a quiet pride, not for himself, but for what humans could achieve when they dared to act. The dragon hovered over the spaceport, then turned its gaze toward the stars. With a final, powerful flap of its wings, it shot upward, leaving trails of fire and smoke in the thin atmosphere. Kieran watched, hands still extended, as the creature disappeared into the distance. The crowd remained silent for a moment, then erupted into murmurs and whispers. They had seen history, a legend born of bravery and trust. The alien authorities who had once demanded the dragon be restrained, now looked at Kieran differently. Some bowed slightly, others nodded in respect. They could not deny what they had witnessed. A human had faced a terrifying dragon, treated it when no one else would, and earned its complete trust. Kieran understood that the galaxy's view of humanity was beginning to change. Humans were no longer just ordinary beings. They were brave, resourceful, and compassionate in ways others could not imagine. Back in the hub, Kieran cleaned his tools and checked the last medical records. The dragon was gone, but its presence lingered. He thought about the journey, the fear, the danger, the moments when failure seemed certain. And he knew that humans had something unique, a quiet strength that others often overlooked. Strength was not just firepower or size. It was courage in the face of fear, empathy in the face of danger, and the willingness to act when all others would flee. Kieran left the hub, stepping into the early morning light. The city was waking, ships moving across the skies, traders preparing for journeys across the galaxy. Yet a change had begun. Stories would be told of the human who faced a terrifying dragon, of a bond forged through patience and care. Aliens and humans alike would speak of it in hushed tones, marveling at what one individual could accomplish. And the dragon, soaring among the stars, would carry the memory of humanity's courage wherever it went. In the quiet moments, Kieran thought about the future. He knew more challenges would come. Other dragons, other creatures, and other dangers would appear in the galaxy. But he also knew that humans had proven something powerful. They could act when others would freeze, see value where others saw only threat, and build trust where fear reigned. That quiet heroism could change the galaxy. And somewhere far above, the dragon flew through the stars, free and strong, carrying with it the story of a human who dared to step forward. It was a story that would grow into legend, a reminder that courage and compassion could tame even the most terrifying beings. Kieran smiled to himself, knowing that the bond they had formed, and the lesson the galaxy had witnessed, would not be forgotten. The legend of a human who faced fear, healed the impossible, and earned the trust of a dragon had begun. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. Courage, empathy, and patience had turned terror into trust, danger into triumph, and a simple human medic into a symbol of hope. And in that quiet, shining moment, Kieran understood something he had always known. Humans could change the world, not through fire or weapons but through heart, courage, and the quiet strength to do what no one else would.